Now we will talk about the possibility of having various layouts for the same object depending on the platform used, as well as on the screen size, orientation, and so on. Here we can see the detail of work with speakers in view mode and in edit mode. By default, the work with component initializes two different layouts for an object. Remember that we had already customized the one corresponding to the view mode, for example, to overlap controls. Also by default, they will be identical when opened. We've modified one of them. The combo displayed below the layout on the left allows us to switch layouts and edit either one. To the right, we have buttons to add a new layout or delete the layout being edited at that moment. However, the option to have multiple layouts for the same object exceeds what we've just said about the general section and the mode, view or detail. For example, suppose that when viewing a session's detail, we want the session's list of speakers to be displayed as a link only when running on an Android phone. And when the application is running on an iPad, we want to have the entire data displayed in line. In this case, we will need to design two different layouts. It's the same object, but it has two layouts and they will be used depending on the platform. In addition, for Android, we will also want to see the tracks as a tab, as shown here. On the iPad, instead, we will not want to display them. So, how did we manage to design these layouts differently? In a previous class, we had customized the detail node to have it displayed as we wanted on an Android phone. Actually, we hadn't indicated the platform in which we wanted to have it displayed in this way. What we did was we had set it for all platforms and modes, with default orientations, that is to say, landscape and portrait. Now we will want this screen, which looks like this, of the detail node, to be the layout for the Android phone. Now let's see it in GeneXus. Pressing this button will open this window on the right instead of this other window on the left, and it will allow us to choose a more specific layout in these combos and design it. In any platform, we're offered to choose between Android and iOS. Once we select one of these two options, instead of any size, we will be able to design a different layout for phone, 7-inch tablet, 10-inch tablet, and so on. Let's see it in GeneXus. Here we have the detail node of work with sessions, as well as what we had programmed earlier. We had added this tab control and the speaker's general section, and in the tracks tab, we had added the section for the tracks. But we had done it as a general layout. It could be executed in any platform. This is the only layout we have defined. What we will do is add a new layout for the Android platform. Phone, any version, any mode, for example, and default orientations, which means that the same layout will be used for both orientations. In addition, we're asked to select an initial template, which will be used to start this layout. If we select default, the default template will be used. However, we wanted to start using the layout we've created, so we will have it started with this layout we've created. We click here. As we can see, now we have two layouts for this object, the layout we've just created, and the layout that will be applied to any platform, any mode, and any orientation. A hierarchy will be established here, and that's why we see a little tree. So when running on an Android phone, this layout will be selected, Android phone, and when running on any other device, this other layout will be used, any platform. That is to say, the precedence level is used. The closest option to the platform being used will be applied. Otherwise, the parent's level will be applied. Okay, for the general section, we didn't want this, but what did we want? We delete, and we'll leave default, all sections content, so that the default option of any platform is selected. Let's open the properties. Since platform default has been set, the platform's default option will be used: tabs, inline, or link. If now we wanted to have the information displayed on the iPad as we showed earlier, that is to say, everything displayed in line, we will create a new layout. This time, for iOS, iPad, and leave the others by default. How do we want it to have it initialized now? We're offered to initialize it as any of the platforms we have. We will initialize it as the default platform. In this case, we will set the display property to inline. Actually, we would do so if we wanted to show all the sections in line, but we had said that we didn't want to show the tracks. So, we would have to delete all sections content, open the toolbox, and insert the two sections that we want to display. For each one of them, we indicate that we want them to be in line, set the row size, and that's it. So in this way, we will be able to have multiple layouts for the same object. Another interesting feature to note, which was included in the design guidelines for the iPad that we saw at the beginning, was the option to vary the amount of data being displayed and the way in which it is displayed according to the orientation used. We would do this by defining other layouts. They would depend on that of the iPad created, one for landscape and another one for portrait. This is how we customize the way in which each layout is displayed. So, this is the end of this topic. Let's move on to the next one.